I, 20, was temporarily living with my mother, stepfather and stepsister, 14. Me and stepsister were never close. She hates me and my mother, thinking that my mother stole her father away after her own mother passed. It has been that way for 4 years already, and while she is in slightly better terms with my mother, she still constantly tries to disturb me because I am not as tolerant as my mother. As for my stepfather, he is quite okay, but he would pretend to ignore me in front of my stepsister sometimes because she would throw a fuss about it. I was supposed to move to a rather far place to work and study. My father arranged for me to move in after renovations are done, bringing my dog with me. When I first brought my dog to my mother's a few months ago, my stepsister seemingly fell in love with him. At first it was just me taking care of him, then we took turns taking him out. For a while I even thought that we could have gotten along better because we both loved the dog. And one day my sister returned without my dog and announced that she had given him away just to spite me. She got what she wanted, and no matter how nicely or nastily I asked her, she wouldn't tell me where she took him. I complained it to my mother and stepfather, but they couldn't get her to talk either. She had this attitude of try me whenever she gets stubborn. I was to move in 2 days and I guess she wanted to keep my dog for herself or make me miss my cross-country train. I know it is despicable, but I was worried for my pup and whatever she could have done with him. I sneaked into her room when she was not looking and took her mother's ash urn. I know this was precious to her, precious enough to be used to make her talk. I hid the urn somewhere she would never find. Sure enough, my stepsister lost it completely when she realized what I did, and similarly I'd never talk no matter what my mother or stepfather say. After all those screaming and crying, she finally gave in and admitted that she brought him to her friends. After taking the trip and passing my dog back to me, she demanded to have the urn back, but I did not tell her until my day of departure, in case she wanted to pull some sick prank again. Everybody I know of, including my own father, thinks that I took it too far. While in the end nothing really bad happened, I did it in the worst way possible, quoted by my mother, who did nothing to help either. It was my stepsister who started it. She knew how important my pup is to me, and she tried to take him away from me, so I used similar way to make her return him, and it worked. I didn't do it out of spite, just making use of what I could to get my dog back. So in this case, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. She did this to herself, and shame on her for bringing an innocent animal into her personal feud. The reason others don't get it is because they don't have a bond with the dog as you do. They just see it as another dog. Agreed. Not the idiot. I also think OP's relationship with her parents and stepsister is just nuked at this point. If her parents enabled her stepsister to steal her dog and just be too stubborn to give it back, that's horrendous behavior that they just threw their hands up for. OP needs a therapist to probably unpack whatever else harmful her parents have likely taught her in regards to stepsister more than OP. Well, normally I would frown on stealing ashes. I frown on someone deliberately mistreating an animal and giving away someone's pet when it is in a loving home with a loving owner, and doing it out of spite is pathetic. Like you said, she started this, and you only took it as far as you had to. Tell your stepfather, no, your daughter took it too far because she hates me, so she gave away my dog. All I did was steal ashes to hold until I got my dog back. She committed an act of animal cruelty and animal abuse. Because she hates me, I stole the ashes to get my dog back where it belongs. She's lucky I didn't get the police involved. Would you like her to have a criminal record? I was friends with Summer, 29, for a little over a year when she broke things off. I guess I wasn't supportive like she wanted me to be. I'll admit I wasn't. At the time, around the end of our friendship, I had endured a very traumatic experience that controlled my life. Selfishly, I couldn't manage anything, not even friendship. I did apologize to Summer and explain what happened. She didn't understand, but instead called me a horrible friend and hated me. I knew a lot of Summer's history, more than what I wanted to know honestly. One of the big things was she had slept with her best friend's husband a year ago. It resulted in her friendship ending, these two divorcing and Summer's husband almost leaving her. She's not sympathetic or regretful. She's just ashamed of it. Well, one of our shared friends, Lindsay, invited me over while watching Summer's kids. I was like an aunt to those kids and was just glad to see them. Summer wasn't happy when she found out and ranted about me to Lindsay for a whole good half an hour. To sum it up, she said I was a horrible person who can't work on their personal issue, and she didn't want her kids around someone so unstable and had no morals. I was just sitting there silently, letting her scream, but that part made me laugh because of the irony. I blurted out she was the one who slept with a married man, the husband of her once best friend, so it's amusing she judges my morals. Summer's husband was there. He walked out fuming while Summer began to hysterically cry. I walked out with no regret until I got home and realized it was a low blow. I took something she was ashamed of and something her husband obviously hasn't forgive, but then a part of me thinks good, she deserves it. Was I the idiot? Not the idiot. Summer sounds like an emotional vampire. She's married with kids, befriends 18-19-year-old you, uses you as her confidant for her unsavory deeds, then gets upset when you have your life dramas. Summer owed you an apology for entangling you in all that. In this recent incident, you responded to her unprovoked attack with the truth. You are in no way to blame for what happens with her husband. Everyone's the idiot here. What a lot of dramatic tosh. You weren't just like an aunt to those kids if you were only friends with their mother for a year. You were just their mum's friend, and not a long-term one at that. And she's just as bad for sulking because you happened to be in the same house as her kids. That was her fault. People in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Once she started questioning your morals, then you were entitled to point out her shortcomings in return. That was not a low blow, it was appropriate for the situation. Summer believes she is in a position of impunity. She believes her behavior is fine, but others who behave the same way as she does are wrong because they are not her. She lacks a moral compass and is no one to be in judgment of others' morality. About a month ago, my husband watched a video on some social media platform where the husband gifts his wife her dream car, but she ends up crying and being unhappy because it's not the color she wanted. Husband shows me this video asking for my views and I say well, she's not wrong. If she asked for a specific color, then that's what she should get. Husband thinks this is ridiculous and says he's 10,000% sure I'd never act like that in real life. He says the value and gesture is more important. We ended the conversation and continued with our lives. Last week, husband calls me outside to surprise me with a new car. We've spoken about me wanting a new one, but the deal was that he'd get it for me on Christmas. I had told him all the specs I wanted, right down to the tires. In this surprise of his, he has the car, but nothing is what I wanted, except the brand. I laugh, shocked because his friend is recording this, so I'm thinking it's a prank. I say ha ha. Great joke. Tell me when you get the one I really want. I go back inside the house. He enters a few minutes later pissed off because he can't believe I actually didn't accept his gift. Says I'm ungrateful. He thinks I'm an idiot because the car is really expensive, more expensive than the one I wanted, and he surprised me with it before Christmas, and he doesn't believe that one should look a gift horse in the mouth. I think he is an idiot because I literally told him exactly what I wanted and he wasn't even close. He's now kept the car and insists I'll get used to it, but I don't see the point in driving it if I don't like it. This is where I think I'm being a bit of an idiot. Who exactly is the idiot here? Not the idiot. Yes, it was nice of him to do, and it's very sweet that you got it earlier than Christmas, but you told your husband exactly how you were going to react and what you wanted, and he chose to pretend you didn't say that. Basically, he ignored your wishes here, for the sake of the video. I don't understand not driving a car you don't like though. It's still a car. Your reaction was on the entitled side, but I think your husband's the idiot in this. This whole thing is very strange rich people problems. He's being hugely passive-aggressive. Who cares how much something costs if it's not something you want? In fact, the more it costs the worse it is. Why would he purposefully buy another car than the one you wanted except for messing with you? Pretty expensive passive-aggressive crap here. Glad you two have the finances to annoy each other with expensive cars. Everyone's the idiot here, and mostly I am so amazed when I hear something like this, where you guys are planning on him buying you a car for Christmas. What is wrong with the two of you going to the dealership and buying the car without this role-playing gift scenario, where you say exactly what you want and when you want it, and he goes out and gets it like it's a big superhero task, and you gaze adoringly and say my hero. I've recently started dating this guy, Andy, for about 6 months. His best friends are Felicity and Jacob, and they've all been friends for over 10 years. Andy and Felicity are very close, and I mean very close. They go to one another for everything, they meet up 2 days of the week, and they text 24/7. At first, I tried to not think anything of it as I knew they were friends, but I didn't realize they were that close. I've questioned it before, thinking that surely there was something between them prior. He laughed and said that nothing has ever happened between them, that Felicity and Jacob were always a thing. He also said that they went through a lot of things during high school, and that she was his person during really rocky periods in his life, and they're each other's support systems. I'll be honest, their closeness does make me feel uncomfortable, and I feel that it often interrupts our relationship. Fast forward to now, Andy is the best man, so he's often busy helping with wedding planning, etc. One night I was invited to drinks, and I was then made aware that Andy offered to walk Felicity down the aisle. Confused, I asked why wasn't her father walking her down. Felicity said that he passed away and that originally her cousin was walking her down, but he lived interstate and was unable to travel due to borders being shut. When we got home I asked Andy, why didn't he tell me, or even ask, if I was okay with it. He replied that he didn't have the time to tell me as it was arranged literally moments before we went out to drinks, and he asked why wouldn't I have been okay with it. I told him that I was slightly uncomfortable by the closeness of their relationship, and I often felt he prioritized their friendship over our relationship. That the last couple of weeks I felt that I wasn't given as much attention as Felicity had been receiving, and I didn't really understand why he was the one to be walking her down the aisle. He said that he was very close to her dad and that Felicity is a very important person in his life and she shaped him to be the person he is today, and that she's done so much for him that he wanted to do this for her. He said that I shouldn't feel uncomfortable and that he hadn't meant to make me feel that way. He stated that their friendship was important just as much as our relationship. I got angry by this as I felt he wasn't understanding my perspective at all. I said that he clearly thinks I'm of less importance compared to her and that he wasn't taking my feelings into consideration. I told him I was uncomfortable by it, and out of respect for me, he should at least just stick to being the best man and perhaps find someone else to do the job. He said that I should be respecting his decision to do this for Felicity and that she doesn't have anyone else to do this for her. I ended up dropping the conversation out of frustration, and I don't know if I'm being the idiot in this situation. I can see why that would weird you out, but I'm gonna say you are the idiot. He's walking her down the aisle at her own wedding as a close friend standing in for her deceased dad. I don't think he's cheating on you with her. A man and a woman truly can be best friends without shenanigans. You've raised this concern, and he said that nothing's up, and honestly you either need to trust him on that or leave the relationship, because it's not gonna help anything to try and control one of his oldest friendships. Either you trust your boyfriend or you don't. If you don't, why are you with him? If you do, then back off and let him spend this time with a close friend who has lost her father and is trying to get married in a difficult time. Your insecurity is going to be a constant difficulty in your relationship, ask me how I know. It is not unreasonable nor unusual for men and women to have friendships. You should be asking yourself why you are mistrusting this and where your stress is coming from. You're the idiot. You're being a huge idiot. He doesn't need your permission or blessing to handle an extra duty at a wedding he was going to be at anyway, meaning there couldn't be something you had planned that he would miss. Also, there could not be a bigger sign that they are not romantically interested in each other than the fact that he will be performing a duty usually carried out by the bride's father. They feel like family to one another. Their jealousy is misplaced and inappropriate. I have a history of trauma from childhood, and from a young age this thing would happen to me where under stress, I'd feel very disconnected from my surroundings. I would feel like my body and my mind were very far apart and that anything happening to my body was not happening to me. It was happening to her while I was somewhere far away. I was not as connected to my senses. While I had some awareness of what was said or what was happening around me, it felt murky and distant. I also have a higher risk or pain tolerance. When I'm in that mental place, I won't flinch at pain or even be totally aware of it. I was in a sorority this year and there was some party I couldn't make it to. It kinda pissed my friends off because we were having a date party with a frat and me missing it was going to mess up the numbers. My friends decided to prank me by getting some of the boys from the frat to keep me from leaving the hall before the party and carrying me back to the common room to get ready. It was supposed to be a silly prank, they'd carry me up there like a princess, and everyone would swarm me to do my hair and makeup. But that day, when I got lifted up all of a sudden and carried to the common room, my brain just immediately went to that place. Everyone was treating it as a joke, but I didn't really get it and I was just feeling I need to get out, so I said nothing and started walking towards the door. Some of the girls tried to hold the door shut, still joking around, so I turned Kinda on autopilot and went to the emergency exit door. I went down the fire escape and walked into the woods Kinda aimlessly. After a while I came by a creek and sat quietly till I started to come back to myself. It hadn't felt like much time had passed, but it had actually been several hours. Back at campus, a couple campus cops found me and they were accusing me of setting off the fire alarm for no reason then disappearing. I at first was baffled, then remembered I had climbed down the fire escape. My sorority sisters were also wanting explanations, mad I'd ruined the night. Everyone was so worried about me vanishing for hours that they didn't have the party. I told them everything and I wasn't in trouble for the alarm, but a lot of the girls ended up upset with me for not having told them I was liable to just go crazy and pull fire alarms and wander barefoot through the woods. I was mad they put it like that and thought it was their fault for setting up a prank that starts with practically kidnapping someone unaware. It remained an issue until COVID hit honestly, and it's making me wonder if I should quit Greek life this fall. Am I the idiot for not telling my sorority I might disassociate if I panic? They played a prank that made me panic. Not the idiot. Dissociation is weird business. You just do not feel like yourself. It acts up when you feel trapped and panicked, which is fine. It's hard to deal with. Your friends did an irresponsible thing, and it's understandable why you reacted how you did. It's not your responsibility to tell others your mental health conditions, and dissociation is not well understood. And running into the woods. While scary for others, I've done the same. It's immensely helpful, I'm not sure why. They got mad at you because you ruined their stupid party, meanwhile they caused you so much stress that it kicked in your fight or flight mode, which caused you to dissociate. What about your feelings? I also have a history of child trauma, so I know what this is like. I would seriously leave Greek life because it's clearly a very toxic environment. Those girls aren't your friends if they're calling you crazy. A real friend has empathy and your best interests in mind, not their own. Not the idiot at all. They got annoyed that you had other plans, so they literally had you kidnapped, so you had to miss whatever it was you had planned. That right there makes them the idiots. I don't think you owe it to anyone to disclose any medical problems you have, but even taking the panic and disassociation out of the picture, they're still the ones to blame.